Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. Now, for a long time, people living with disabilities have had challenges fitting into the world. It is now evident that technology can lower barriers that people with disabilities encounter in their daily lives, such as speaking, traveling, reading, and writing. It can allow them to participate and enjoy the benefits of the digital society with the same access to information as everyone else. This has paved way to the conversation about innovating disability inclusive technology. Now, innovating disability inclusive technology involves designing and developing technological solutions that can be accessed and used by people with disabilities. It involves identifying the barriers that exist in traditional technologies and finding ways to remove them. This is a critical conversation for people living with disabilities, and that's why tonight, disability inclusion expert Eugene Muchai joins me in studio to talk about innovating disability inclusive technology. Welcome, Eugene, to our studios.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Very excited to be here today and to do this discussion with you. It's also a very pertinent conversation in Kenya right now.
Right.
And I want to laud KU for the wonderful commemoration that you've done today and for the many efforts that Kenyatta University has been doing to support persons with disabilities.
Right. Let's get right into it. So what are some of the challenges that people living with disabilities encounter that have been addressed by technology?
So I think let us start from the basics. Everyone is a candidate of disability, and traditionally over time we have or the society has trained us to see disability as something that is weird, something that is out of the common. But I think with time, information and a lot of awareness has been put in terms of disability. And so today we know that anyone and everyone is a candidate of disability.
Right.
You could be walking today and the next minute you're not walking. So the need for assistive technologies for persons with disabilities comes in very handy. And in the wake of technology and the advent of digital development, artificial intelligence, technological science, data, then there's need for innovators to develop solutions for persons with disabilities.
Right.
Some of the solutions that we've seen as Kenyans, and I want to applaud one organization called Innovate now for doing a wonderful job supporting innovators in assistive technology. And many other organizations are there in Kenya that are supporting persons with disabilities, Matters Innovation. We have an electric wheelchair in Kenya that helps persons with disabilities, made in Kenya for the Kenyan terrain, for Kenyan people. And so we also have a wearable white cane or a wearable visual aid that is also made in Kenya by Kenyans for Kenyans. All right. We also have hearing aids that have been developed elsewhere. Some are still in the process of being developed in Kenya to help persons with hearing impairment to access communication as any other person. And so there are a lot of developments that are happening. Those are just a few that I've mentioned, but there is a lot that is being done, and I'm also very happy with the kind of partnerships that are happening in the disability sector, where different innovators, different organizations are coming together and developing assistive technologies jointly or by supporting each other in order to promote innovation for inclusion. And that is a very important part of developments in the disability sector.
Right, and now that we have already stated the question, what is the place of technology and innovation in providing solutions for the problems you just highlighted some, first by people living with disabilities?
Access to information is a very critical part of learning for everyone. At a very tender age, a child or a student with a disability needs to access learning aids for them to be able to get education.
Right.
Because without education, then the future is almost deemed doomed for that child. Therefore, it is important for us to be able to support children or learners with disabilities or any form of impairment to access education. Therefore, technology, when used to further education or to disseminate education, helps our learners to catch up with learners without disabilities and complete studies so that they can join careers.
Right.
Let's look at the universities and colleges. If we have more assistive technologies for learners who have completed secondary education, and they can access technical skills by using technology aids or assistive technologies, then we are sure that we shall have engineers who have disabilities, we shall have technical persons with disabilities, and from my observation, if you provide assistive technologies to a person with disability and put them in the same class with persons without disabilities, you might expect better results from the persons with disabilities.
Right.
I saw in the previous KCSE and KCPE 2022, a lot of improvement has been observed amongst learners with disabilities in their performance. And so the only effort that is required there is aids to help them access information and communication. And that is also transposed to the career world.
Right.
We've seen many innovators also who have disabilities, and they're doing fantastic work out there in the industry.
And all that can be owed to assistive technologies.
Assistive technology and the advent of technology that is inclusive and responsive to the needs of persons with disabilities.
Right. So what are some of the steps that can be taken to innovate disability inclusive technology, this inclusivity that you're talking about? So
we say that there is nothing for us without us. And that mantra, if well used by researchers and innovators, gives us the solution to such a problem where there is lack of information about what works for persons with disabilities, what technologies work for persons with disabilities. It is easy to import a technology, but it is very difficult for a technology that has not been tested, for example, in the Kenyan market, to work in the Kenyan market. So research is very important, and it is not just desktop research. Research together with information shared amongst persons with disabilities, do a one-on-one discussion. In the past, we've done something called live labs, where you test the technology that you have with persons with disabilities. Let them give you feedback. Let them use whatever innovation you have and give you suggestions on what could be done better. And then you also co-create the iterations that you're doing on that innovation. That provides the solutions to the technologies that we aim to see in the market.
Right. You're talking about those are some of the technologies we aim to see. That means there's a place we are at right now. Now, talk about the place of the society in promoting inclusion for people living with disabilities.
Earlier on, when I was starting, I said that the society has trained us to see disability as something totally different from commonness or the normal life. But that is not correct. Therefore, society has a responsibility today to teach our generations, to teach everyone, including our religious organizations, educational institutions, political institutions, civic societies. We have a responsibility to teach people about inclusion, embracing disability, and being disability ready, including just making adjustments to our infrastructure, making adjustments to even our communication, how we refer to persons with disabilities, how we address persons with disabilities. It is all about how the society is structured. So if politics does not play its part in supporting innovators in the assistive technology space, then we are missing something in terms of the direction that we should be taking. If families don't discuss disability and appreciate disability, then I will hate my brother or my sister because they have a disability. And so the more awareness we do, the more advocacy that is being done by organizations such as the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, the United Disabled Persons of Kenya, and many other organizations that are leading in advocacy in Kenya. Unless we do thorough and aggressive awareness and support for information on inclusion, disability embracing, inclusive infrastructure, and adjustments, accessible roads, accessible washrooms, accessible classrooms for students, then we shall still be lagging behind in terms of embracing and propelling disability inclusion in Kenya. But there is a lot that has been done. There is a lot that is going on.
Right.
Many organizations are coming up. Many organizations are also growing in terms of advocacy and awareness matters disability, and that is something to celebrate. In some institutions, we've seen some TVETs. Some TVETs are also coming up with solutions for persons with disabilities. I've seen TVETs like the current Technical College for the Deaf having a very wonderful programs for the deaf to take up technical courses and to get into the technical space and technology space and develop solutions. And that is one of the ways that the society will be curated towards accepting disability and promoting disability and inclusion in Kenya.
Right. And Eugene, you're painting a picture of how the society has been and the technologies that are being developed to ensure inclusivity with people living with disabilities. But I would want to know, are we there yet in terms of disability inclusion as a country?
Now, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Many years ago, we didn't have laws and policies to promote disability inclusion. We have the Disabilities Act now that has been improved over time. I think there is one amendment that is happening, and a lot of changes have been happening in the past 5 years to include persons with disabilities, even in policy. We've seen affirmative action. Today, you will hear even in civic societies and political circles, people talking about disability as a core mandate of the government. And that is wonderful progress. The question is, how are we responding to the laws that we are creating to support persons with disabilities?
Right.
How fast are we embracing the laws and the support that we are purporting to say in terms of alleviating challenges that are faced by persons with disabilities? I have seen recently, I was in a conversation with the Kenya Business Disability Network, and the question is, how many organizations, how many businesses today have at least even 2% of their staff being persons with disabilities?
Right.
Some, I think there are about 2 or 3 which have at least attained 3%, but 3 out of the many corporates that exist in Kenya is still a very small percentage of the Kenyan corporate world. And so we are making progress, slow, steady, but
sure.
I think there is more that needs to be done.
Right.
Yes.
And that being said, what call, Eugene, would you want to extend to innovators, to citizens, to the government regarding innovating disability inclusive technology, even as you give your parting shot?
Today, actually, since yesterday, there is a lot of buzz around the chief administrative secretaries that have been appointed or nominated. And people are asking, why are we very fast to appoint people and support people into political spaces? So what if we use the same energy that we're using to put people in political positions and leadership positions? How about if we use those resources and we use such energy to support programs in the disability sector? How about if we use tax reliefs for organizations that are promoting inclusion in their workplaces? How about if we invest more funds in supporting advocacy and awareness for persons with disabilities? Then that means that we shall have the same energy that we are putting in other areas also directed to inclusion. And you know, inclusion is where we say, when you create a solution for the person who is deemed to be the least in the society, the most vulnerable in the society, then you have created a solution for all. So why don't we prioritize disability? Why don't we prioritize inclusion in the workplace, in the religious places, in the political spaces?
Right.
Why don't we give it as much support so that now we can all move forward together, and we shall see very great results as a nation when we support inclusion and inclusive programs in Kenya.
Right. So it begins with right where we are.
Very true.
And I think it is evident that technology can be made more inclusive and accessible to people living with disabilities to improve their quality of life and to increase their participation in society. That has been an interesting conversation, very comprehensive, with Eugene Muchai. Thank you so much for coming to our studios tonight.